got some language public officials are in attendance?
Let's see. Law Director Justin Richard.
Present.
Assistant Law Director Edmund Knapp.
Present.
And I apologize, Justin, I forget our new chief counsel's name.
Timothy Piro.
Timothy.
Tim Piro. Present.
Okay. Economic Development Director David Maley.
Present.
Income Tax Budget Director Lori Katagides-Boron.
Present.
And Code Enforcement Officer Jimmy Johnson.
Present.
Is there anyone from the administration on this? That's it? Sir.
Keep doing that, you got it. Anyways, let the record also show that all 9 members of council are present, as well as the president of council.
Thank you, Mr. Lewis. I have one item that falls under old business, the resolution accepting an expedited type 1 annexation petition, which is annexation of 0.530 acres located in the southwest corner of Section 16, Perry Township, Stark County, Ohio, pursuant to Section 709.022 of the Highway Revised Code. I believe this resolution has been passed through the Stark County Commissioners, and this is a couple parcels that will complete Augusta Lakes. So are there any questions? That is the housing and development off of Ridgeville Drive in the city of Massillon. Does anyone have any questions regarding this request? Okay. I have one item that falls under new business. At the August 10, 2022 meeting, the City Planning Commission did not give its recommendation to the following request. The applicant is Eric Ray. Lot number 1562 for parcel 604597 located at 56 5th Street Southeast. Acreage is 0.152. The request is a zone change from R1, one family residential, to RM-1 multifamily residential. The purpose of the rezoning is to allow for rental units and office. Is there anyone from administration that would like to come up and review this with council?
Madam Chairman, this is a rezoning request that was before planning. It's for a property in the Wellman neighborhood. I believe it's a fourplex. Is that correct? Triplex. Okay. That basically then a triplex for as long as I think it's been built at some point. It became vacant. We don't know how long ago it became vacant. We estimate probably at least 10 years ago. It's been vacant in that neighborhood. It was legal non-conforming when we did the zoning, when they did the zoning maps. When a property becomes vacant for 2 years, it becomes goes back to the original zoning, which is residential. So Mr. Ray bought that property, I believe, 2 years ago, somewhere in that neighborhood, and is requesting that the property be rezoned back to multifamily so he can wants to fix it up, improve the property, and lease it out for I believe, three rentals at that site.
Does any council members have any questions for Mr. Manley before I open? Yes, Mr. Lewis.
Just want to make sure that we're understanding. So the property, when originally built, our role with it, would have been a single-family residence.
I think, Mr. I do not know the way the property was originally built. I think it was built as a triplex, but I do not know that for a fact. I don't know if single family. That was
Yeah, but
maybe-
for years, it's been a multi.
Yeah, it's been multi-family then for many years. I don't know what it was when they were building it.
Because from our possible understanding, it was single family, it was converted to a triplex at some point,
Something like that.
maintained that usage for decades,
Correct.
and then due to our zoning laws, because it went vacant for 2 years, it resorted back to the original designation.
That's correct.
And this is a commonplace thing I know that this neighborhood association is very aware of.
That's correct.
Any other council members, Mr. Hurricane?
Thank you, Mrs. Kramer. Mr. Maley, do you know why, or any reasons given that the planning commission did not approve this?
There was a lot of discussion. There was a lot of people from the neighborhood wellness association came in opposing it. One of the main issues was parking. I think that was the focus of a lot of the discussion was there's limited parking in that area now. You have a triplex and there's no place to park. So that was one of the biggest obstacles.
Thank you.
Mr. Gray?
I think I need to clarify that a little bit. It states that the City Planning Commission did not give its recommendation. I was at that meeting. There were only 6 members of the Planning Commission present. 4 people voted for it, 2 people voted against it. But because and they said at the time they had a quorum, but because there were only 4 votes, it was not a majority of the Planning Commission as it stands. So I think that they didn't say no, but they didn't say yes, because they didn't have enough people to vote on the issue at the time.
They need 5 votes for passage for recommendation.
Mr. Maley, can you, do you know how many multi-family units are currently in the Wellman neighborhood?
I do not. I'm sure probably somebody from, I know there's probably individuals here that might know that, but I do not know that.
Any other council people have
I
questions?
could probably get that for you though.
Mr. Lewis?
Well, just a general comment, because I'm trying to process all this. I think, because, when we brought up parking, and I've done a lot of walking through the Wellman area, and parking is extremely tight. The roads are tight as well through there. They're not very large roads. To the point that safety vehicles probably we do have a concern in some regards. So that's one thing that I'm concerned about. So I definitely get that. I think the debate that we need to consider as we move forward is you have one where we're trying to preserve the historical nature of the neighborhood. It is one of our beautiful historic neighborhoods. On this flip side, you have a building that's been vacant for 10 years, and that's not doing any good for anybody. So we got to try to see how we can navigate this. I'm just thinking out loud, trying to think of all the arguments as we process. I would love to hear more from the zoning commission, though, or planning, whatever.
Mr. Maley, could we have a spokesperson from the planning commission come and speak to us and give us more of the background of their thoughts if they've spoken to the entire committee and get a better understanding of those 2 individuals that voted against it? I mean, that now that it's coming to us, not being recommended by this planning commission?
Well, I believe the people that voted against it were, felt uncomfortable with a couple things. One was the parking issue. I think that was prevalent. The other thing was with regards to the amount of space that when I say space, I mean like the yard, the amount of space in the yard with regards to if you put, I think, a couple families in that, where do the kids play? I know that was brought up at some point in time during the discussions. There's not a lot of yards, et cetera, for 3 families. If you had 3 families living in that, which would be an apartment type situation. I probably would be the spokesperson on planning. I'm going to act as secretary of the planning commission. So I don't know what else I can get you I can give you the minutes of the meeting if you'd like. But Mr. Gregg, I think you were at the meeting. Is there something that I'm missing that you'd like to add to?
Mr. Gray?
Yes, I was at the meeting, and Yeah, I think the primary concern was parking. I think in general, they were pleased with the gentleman and his thoughts and plans for that. The big issue is that he wants to, and recently so, understandably so, wants to make it multifamily. If that property could be renovated and maintained as single family, that would solve all the issues. But I don't know if economically that can happen. But yeah, the issue is parking. It is a small lot. Mr. Ray had come at an additional meeting, or at that meeting, actually had a proposal for a way to solve or alleviate the parking situation. I don't know. There was concern by people on the board that his solution would be feasible, because given the small size of a lot and setbacks and so forth that would be needed. So that was the gist of it. It was primarily the parking and the fact that it was zoned. But then we have sort of a small pocket of a different zoning than what the rest of the neighborhood is zoned. That's my concern. I wouldn't like to see multiple areas zoned differently within, or multiple lots zoned differently within the same area. So that's a concern I have as well. But as to what the commission was thinking and why they voted the way they did, I can't answer that.
Yeah, and I wouldn't want to speculate. I think some of it was the fact that Mr. Ray gave us a good presentation. I think his heart's in the right place to try to improve the property. It is kind of built right now for a triplex. So there'd be a lot of additional costs probably try to create a single-family house. So I think some of the commission members felt that it was a viable solution to the situation, but others did. I mean, it's one way to go.
Mr. Hurricane.
Thank you, Mrs. Kramer. Mr. Maley, I think you mentioned the office use as well. Can you elaborate a little further on what type of breakdown or what office? Because office zoning is entirely different category.
You mean as far as this property? At one point, Mr. Ray, and I'm not real familiar with the structure, but in the back section of the structure, something I think was added on at some point in time. He was going to create an office area for the triplex there. But at that point, he said if that was an issue, he wouldn't even have the office area. He would just tear down that portion, like an add-on on the back of the house.
Any additional questions? Ms. Howard-Smith?
How many parking spaces are actually at the property?
Well, it's all street.
It's all street, there's no driveway at all, there's no...
Yeah, there's space, I'm sorry.
There's
Eric Ray, Ray's Reconditioning. There's space there.
Mr. Ray,
Yes.
I was going to call you up shortly as soon as
Oh, I'm
we
sorry.
so you can come up and tell us a little bit about the project.
Okay. No problem.
Anyone else have any other questions? Okay, Mr. Eric Ray, come on up and tell us a little bit about what you're proposing, and thank you for coming.
No problem. I'm kind of loud anyway, I'll step back. I purchased the property, as he said, about 2 years ago. The building, I love the character. I'm trying to, basically keep it in the same condition that it's in. Actually add historical plaques to the outside and create luxury apartments inside. The way the layout is inside the house, if I was to turn it into a single-family dwelling, it would take me about $170,000 because there's a boiler in there. There's all new wiring, all new plumbing. It would be about a 6-bedroom, 3-bathroom home, and the house would just sit on the market. And by it being in that area, judging the comps, I wouldn't be able to sell it for what I put in it. I'm willing to put in over $120,000, $150,000 for the multi-units, and over time, the revenue would make sense if that works. As he spoke of, I was trying to be as cooperative with the neighbors as possible. I wanted all the feedback I could possibly get because ultimately it's their neighborhood. So if they had an issue with parking, I was willing to give up some of my street with the sidewalk because that curb does need to be rectified. That, right there where my house is, it needs to be fixed. So I'm willing to give up some of my street so we can get more street, or my sidewalk to get more street, or if I need more space in the parking lot, I can tear down the office, as said. At first, it was built as an efficiency. So just to let you know, I'm not just putting people in a room and wanting them to pay rent for one room. I'm putting families in this building. So that's what my intentions is. And in this case, the way the parcel is laid out, the driveway gives me enough space to put at least five parking spots in that space. So if they come in, you pull in, you pull to the, into the space, you'll have at least 5 spaces. And that's only on my property, not having to get anyone else's property involved. Any other question?
So it's going to be a triplex, 2-bedroom per unit, is that what I'm
Yeah,
understanding?
well, the top unit would be a 1-bedroom, actually. It'd be a 1-bedroom because of the way the house comes in. I didn't bring the drawings today, but I had already drew it out. I had the layouts pretty much to scale as to how the view would look. Also to add a staircase to walk up the stairs, because right now when you come into the front door, that only allows you to the front of the downstairs apartment. Code says you have to have 2 doors to get out. So you have to go up. In the back of the house, you go up to get to the 2nd floor, and that's the only way you get to the 2nd floor. You walk up on a roof, and you go in, and then you go up a set of stairs to get to the 3rd unit. So I was even willing to make it a 2 unit, if it would make it, for people to be satisfied as far as parking, because like I do agree that the parking issue is an issue, but at the same time, the building has been sitting there, and I think it would make a great addition to the neighborhood. That's just my opinion.
Is this a brownish brick type building?
Right on the corner,
Yeah, I remember that one. I had to walk to that second.
up on top of there.
Yeah. Well, it says you're walking across someone's roof to get to
Right,
the
exactly. I shored that up, and what we were gonna do with the office was gonna add like a deck, a little patio lounging area for the people, like a common area on top, 3 storage units in the basement, because the basement's full, it's bone dry, there's no leaks. And so it would, a laundry set up, all that. So I had big plans for that.
Any other questions for Mr. Ray? Thank you, Mr. Ray.
All right, thank you.
I also was notified that there may be some residents in that area that are here this evening that have possibly come forward and have any statements for, excuse me?
I was just going to ask if we could maybe have Ms. Bloom speak, and then since if you still the president of the Wellman Association,
Yeah.
and then if others want to speak after her, maybe.
Yeah, whoever would like to start first.
I'm fine with going last, and then some of the residents that are a little closer talk, if.
I'm just going to, a 2 to 3 minute statement on their thoughts. I was just notified that people are present here, and I want to give that opportunity. It's not going to be a question and answer, but just come forward and state your name and your address, and give us your thoughts.
My name is Jim Huebner, and I live at 55 6th Street Southeast, which is right behind the property that we're talking about. Parking's a big problem, but it's only part of what's going on in the Wellman neighborhood. We've got a problem up there with so many multifamily residences now. We have people that are getting around the city's regulations on that. They'll move into a duplex and say they're one family, and then they move out, and then we've got a 2-unit structure again. That happens. We have people who buy the place as a duplex, and we've got a guy now, we've got a realtor in town who's advertising that he has a property that was a single family, or was a multiple family residence, and then was converted to single family residence, which is goes along with the city's regulation. But he says it can easily be turned back into a multifamily. Well, that's not true, but he's advertising that, and they'll come and they'll say, well, we bought this property with the understanding that we could get variance on it and make it into a multifamily property again, and all at once they're stuck with it because they can't. The problem up there is overcrowding in the neighborhood. It's not just the cars. That's an old neighborhood. The houses are very close together. Hardly anybody has a garage up there. People are graveling their front yards. to be able to have a place to park their car off the road because the roads are so narrow and there's been so many accidents. So I feel no animosity whatsoever towards towards Ray and his family. But it's just not a good fit for the neighborhood up there. There's just too many people as it is. We're too close together. As mentioned before, the property has very little yard space. And if the family moves in with kids, instead of before, there's really no place to play with the street. Thank you.
Is there anyone else?
Left hand? No, us.
Yeah.
My name is Dennis Harbert. I've lived in Massillon 27 years, had 3 children graduate Massillon High School. We rented for the first 2 years, and then we had a lapse of sanity and bought a condemned property at 54 Pine Street. And 25 years later, it's a showcase instead of condemned when we bought it. And when we first bought it and started pulling permits, 5 men from the building department came and stood in the living room, and one of them said to me, "Do you have any idea what you're doing?" And I said, "Well, no, I wouldn't be doing it." One of the other men said, "You know this has to be a single-family dwelling. It's 4,200 square feet, and you're going to have a family in here." We raised 4 children there, and we put $100,000 in it, took it from a condemned property to an absolute award-winning showcase. We received the Canton Preservation Society Award for residential property. Dennis and Nona Harbert have made a valuable contribution to the beautification of Stark County and to the preservation of its architecture and historic heritage. So I've probably personally done 90% of the work on the building myself, and I tell people I didn't really want you, but I was a low bidder. And for 25 years later, after I put $100,000 and my life's sweat to find out that the city's willing to change the rules, I don't think it's quite fair. You know, and it's going to, I think that any of those units on Wellman is going to degrade the neighborhood, and it certainly, I believe, is going to devalue the value of my property. So I'm against it big time, and I was promised 25 years ago I could not multiplex it. So it doesn't seem fair that we're changing the rules now after I put $100,000 and 25 years in it. So I'm against it. And it literally went from being condemned to being an award winner. My wife's church group came over a couple of weeks ago, and one woman said, "Oh my gosh, this kitchen is an absolute dream kitchen." So from ready for the wrecking ball to a dream kitchen is a far cry. Thank you.
Is there anyone else?
I can talk, but something more than a couple minutes. Or I'll let Fred go.
I'm Fred Butler. I live at 48 6th Street Southeast, just up there from 5th Street. And I lived in the Wellman neighborhood for about 30 years. The key word here is neighborhood. I think Wellman started out as a single-family residence neighborhood. They have fought tooth and nail to revert back to that, so that we want to keep it that way. And the other end of it is, as far as when rentals come into play, it's not just a rental. There's more people come in. I mean, we have one now at the corner of Wellman and 6th Street. They can have 6 and 7 people in that place. So you get people coming in, they're going to rent and the rent might be $850 a month, and they may not have it, all that, and they bring a friend or a family member or somebody else in, and so now instead of having 2 people living there with 2 cars, you're going to have 3 or 4, and you're just going to compound that whole congestion problem, and that loses the quality and effectiveness of being a neighborhood.
I'm Robin Bloom, I'm president of the Wellman Neighborhood Association, I'm at 846 Wellman. I know you were asking about, the house has actually been vacant since 06, 07. It was a Craig Rohr, the gentleman who was embezzling from Hartville Homes and from the church in Massillon. So, of course, the property was taken to probably pay, some sort of restitution back. When it was a triplex, or I don't even know how many units were in there.
Could you speak a little closer to the mic, please?
When it was a triplex, it was a slumplex. There was attics, or there were cord coming from the attic to the basement. There was a garage there. Oh, that caught itself on fire at some point in time, whether arson or not. The property's an eyesore, but we'd rather see it vacant than see it used as a multifamily unit, just because of what sits next door. It is a Steve Felice property. You're not going to get high-end rental next to a property who is on a landlord who doesn't care. He knocked the front porch off just to avoid the building department at this point in time. So, I mean, it is probably one of the worst properties in our neighborhood, and it's one that we fought and fought and fought. And the law director gave an opinion who allowed him to continue use as a multifamily dwelling, when it should be. That one should have been back to a single family. It sat vacant for more than 2 years. So, it is a parking issue, yes. It's also, if you look at our shirts, progress through preservation. Turn it into a 3-plex, that's not preserving it. What Dennis Harbert did, that's preserving, taking the old nursing home and making it a livable, viable place. I live in a 3,200 square foot, his is over 4,000, theirs is over 4,000. The size is not an issue. It shouldn't be just because how big it is, it should be multifamily. That's an excuse at this point in time. We constantly are fighting the battles. I have my next door neighbor who just passed away in March. His house at one point in time was converted to a duplex. Well, they've used it as a single family home for 30 plus years. The realtor was advertising as a duplex. I had to call them out on it. This is happening all through that neighborhood. It's a single family. Starr County Auditor has it as a single family. It's more than that. I can give you, how many? 17 properties on 5th Street, 5 owner-occupied, a 6-plex, 3 duplexes, 82 houses on Wellman, 40 are rentals, 2 bank-owned, 1 for sale, 37 owner-occupied. We'll never take back our neighborhood if that's what it's going to be. You're never going to have viable downtown living if you don't have, or downtown if you don't have people that are invested. There's quite a few in our neighborhood that are can't transplants. We chose to live here. We invested our money. We're long-term homeowners. I've been here for 20 plus years. So, I'm the one who's going to be down there spending money, not the person who's running off the slumplex. I know he has a lot of great ideas, and I'm not trying to knock him or anything, but, what says if you guys decide to flip the zoning back, what stops it from him reselling it to somebody else, and it becomes another slumplex? I know he wants to pass it down and has, like I said, great plans for it, but, he could get hit by a car tomorrow. Then what happens, that zoning's been changed, that's going to get sold, and then it becomes an issue again. It becomes the same thing it was in 2005, 2006. The problem starts all over again. So, thank you.
Anyone else? Thank you very much. Diane, we would like to set a public hearing with this. Can you look at the calendar? September?
It's going to go on the agenda for 6 of September. And let's see here. The next meeting will be the 19th. So we will be into October, because it has to be 30 days notice prior.
p.m. here in council chambers. That's all I have for community development. Thank you.
Madam Clerk, I think you skipped. Did you discuss the resolution about the reversing of the variance request for the garages?
On the southwest side?
Or for the house?
For the house on Woodruff.
Yes. Resolution number 10.
I may have.
Jason Welch.
Let me find my stuff.
We got the second reading on the 15th.
Oh, for the house on Woodruff, is that what you're saying?
Yes.
A resolution, sorry, this would have been my statement, under old business. A resolution reversing the decision of the Massillon Board of Zoning Appeals in the variance case number 2022-8. So that will be up for third reading on Monday. On Tuesday. Any questions regarding that resolution number 10-2022? All right, that's it. Thank you so much.
Economic development?
Thank you, Mr. Lewis. There are two new pieces this evening. First, please prepare an ordinance for economic development inducement grant for apothecary located at 460 Amherst Road. The owner, Marissa Bills, is requesting funds for costs incurred for initial build-out, equipment, etc. The grant would be for an amount of $4,000. Mr. Maley, would you like to give us some more information on this, please?
Mr. Chairman, Apothecary actually is downtown currently. They're looking to move this new location on Amherst. I think they're actually expanding their business to include yoga and martial arts and some other things. Ms. Bills is here if you'd like to bring her up.
I would. Is 460 Amherst Road the little tiny shopping plaza there right across the pizza?
Yes.
All right, Ms. Bills, are you present? Would you please come up to the microphone here and tell us a little bit about your relocation and what you intend to use the $4,000 grant funds for?
Hello, thank you. We are currently at 109 Lincoln Way. We have been, we'll be there for 5 years. So we found that we needed more room. We have a lot of yoga students and we currently can only teach during closed business hours because we don't have dedicated space. We just don't have enough room. So, excuse me. The new address at 460 is around the south side of the Marks Plaza, the Marks Shopping Plaza. So we'll be about 3 doors down from Merle Norman, in between there and China King. So right kind of dead center on the side facing lake. We intend to have 3 studios that can be actually utilized as 2 studios. So one studio would be utilized to be in addition to, so we can move dividers and have a larger space for that. We intend to have, we actually already have people that do want to teach martial arts there. We have dance instructors that want to teach there. We have yoga instructors, different types of yoga. And then we also still want to bring apothecary because that's our baby. And it has been a benefit, I believe, to our community.
Could you just figure and expand on the apothecary itself?
Yes, absolutely. So apothecary, we take a holistic approach to healthy lifestyles. So that's where the yoga fits in at, and the exercise classes, things like that fit in. We carry essential oils. We carry the things that, I don't know if any of you are familiar with the word apothecary, but that's what they used to call a pharmacy back in the day before there was a pharmacy. So, you know, we try to live by healthy alternatives to medications and to what people might be picking up anywhere else, or whether it be something that was given to them from their doctor as prescription, all the way down to something that they might be picking up on the street. So, as there, I'm not sure if I've covered. Yeah.
One question I have, and I think 460 is closer to Cherry Road. I think it's more like 1460 to get up to the Amherst Shopping Center. I think it's just a typo. but I think when we write the ordinance, we want to make sure we have.
That's what it's on your address, on your application.
I'm sorry, what was the word?
460
Amherst, yeah, it's in the plaza. It is.
Shopping center.
Oh, I'm sorry, it's 460 Lake. I apologize. It is a
Okay,
lake
that's-
facing. Yes.
We're getting there.
Yes.
Your application.
I apologize.
I'm 705, that's right across the street.
Yeah, but it's still important.
Because if it's that wing of the plaza, it will face lake, lake address. So of course, okay.
460 Lake.
All right,
It's
so
460.
My bad.
Okay, that's fine.
all right, so we're good there. How long of a lease, I apologize if you said this, how long of a lease have you signed there?
We just signed a 3-year lease with terms to renew for an additional 3 years.
Perfect. Okay. Thank you. Are there any questions for Mr. Bailey or Ms. Bills from the Economic Development Committee? Anyone else from council? Mr. Gray?
I'm sorry you may mention this, but are you going to move from your current location or are you expanding to the new location?
We are moving.
So that your current location will be empty?
It will be, it will be. We actually just received notice that they wanted to raise our rent. We had already looked into new, larger property, so it kind of fell right along with what we have. But,
Okay, thank you.
yes, sir.
Mr. Lombardi?
Thank you, Mr. Hernking. There's just a little bit of a discrepancy between the worksheet and what the request is. The request is requesting $4,000. The worksheet's saying we're up to $3,750. Can we get some clarity on that, please?
Hang on. I think that the worksheet says, yeah, I think with talking to the mayor and said we thought that this was worth a little more investment just because of what they're doing, and they've done a long-term business downtown with, and they went through some issues with the construction, et cetera, so we decided to give them $250 more.
Can I ask how we can justify that with when we're going to hold all businesses, all of the grants to this worksheet? How are we going to justify that in the future when we have another 8-point business that only qualifies?
If you prefer, Mr. Lombardi, we can go down to 3750.
I'm sorry.
We can go down to 3750 if you'd like to put that as a request.
I'm just stating that we really probably should clarify this. If we're going to do this at 4,000, then maybe we need to look at the guidelines for the inducement grants or follow the guidelines.
Any other questions? Mr. Garrett?
Thank you, Sir King. Yeah, I have a little bit of a rub there too after fighting for 2 years to get some help to the other downtown businesses. Nothing against you. I'm glad that you're getting some help there. But other businesses have come and gone because of the faux downtown construction. And wow, now all of a sudden we have some money. Just strikes me as a bit more than a bit odd. Thank you.
Mr. Sneed?
Thank you, Mr. Herngan. I've been a long-time supporter and customer of Apothecary. I've received health benefits from them as well. So they are definitely a big asset to our community or city. Whether they want 37 or 4,000, whatever they're asking for, I plan on fully voting for that to support them, as they're supporting me as well. Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, Ms. Bills, thank you for coming tonight, Mr. Bailey. Thank you. I will sign this and pass this around to the committee to put this matter on the agenda for Tuesday.
Thank you.
The second legislation request, please prepare an ordinance for an economic development inducement grant for DK Beauty Supply located at 24 Erie Street South in Massillon. The owner, Brooklyn Walker, is requesting funds for costs incurred for initial build-out equipment, etc. The grant would be for an amount of $7,500. Mr. Bailey, is there anything else you'd like to add on this matter?
Ms. Nichols is here. This is for a location right next this would be a building that was vacant, it's been vacant for a little bit of time, I think.
I believe so.
Correct.
Okay, you called her Miss Nichols, is it Nichols or Walker?
So I was currently married, so technically it is Nichols now, but when I did the application, it was still Walker.
All right, we'll call you Brooklyn.
Okay.
Would you please give us a little more information about how you intend to use the $7,500?
Okay, so what I have is a beauty supply store. It is beauty supplies that can help everyone, but it's geared toward African American and minority hair. A lot of curls, a lot of waves. So moving into the shop, we had to do some like renovations, different, unexpected expenses came up. So with the $7,500, I was going to take that to kind of fill in some inventory that we kind of, left out the first go around, and then payroll.
Any questions or comments from anyone on the committee? Other members, council, Mr. Gregg?
Hey, Mr. King. I don't see here, how many jobs are involved with your business?
So once we're fully up and running, I'm looking at between 5 and 6 full-time employees.
Okay. All full-time, you said?
Correct.
And this is brand new business? You're not in another location?
No, brand new.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other members of council? I have a couple comments. Ms. Nichols, do you have a business plan, or have you gone through that process before starting a business?
Yes, and I work with the SBA, with one of their employees, and put together, a business.
Was it the SBDC at Kent Start?
Correct, yep, with Ms. Ballinger.
All right, that is the right answer. Thank you very much. I think especially on new starters, I think we need to encourage that before they get involved. That's a very good resource for the community at Kent Start. Worked with them a lot in the past, so I'm glad that Ms. Nichols did do that. If there's no other questions or comments, or Mr. Maley, have anything else to add, I will sign this and pass this around to the committee to get on the agenda for Tuesday. So Ms. Nichols, thank you for coming, and David, thank you.
Thank you.
That's all for economic development, Mr. Lewis.
Alton Walter,
I have nothing this evening, thank you.
Parks and Rec,
I have nothing this evening.
Police and Fire,
Nothing for police and fire, Mr. Lewis.
Public Utilities,
Nothing from public utilities at this time.
Rules and Courts,
Thank you, Mr. Lewis. I have one item of old business. We've given the first reading, ordinance number 118-2022. An ordinance amending the rules of City Council by amending Rule 28.1 and 28.2, Section 121.02, Rules of Council, codified ordinances of the City of Massillon. We discussed this a little bit in the first planning session. Is there further discussion or questions? Okay, that's all I have. Oh, Mrs. Harmon-Smith?
Yeah, I was wondering on this, so how it changes, like the timeline of billing and stuff, and being that if we did pass something like that did not come forward from committee, would we want to consider putting in that if you cannot use emergency language to pass something like that faster? So we have to go through all the number of meetings.
Well, emergency language doesn't allow us to pass something quicker. It just goes into effect sooner once it's passed. But, I don't know, Mr. Lewis, do you want to expand on?
I'm not certain we could write a rule that would mandate 3 readings, because every legislation that we have right now technically is already mandated with 3 readings, and that's why we make the motion to waive the rule. So you would only be, you'd be doubling down on a rule that already exists, in which case then the maneuver from the council
we discussed, basically what this would do is expedite a piece of legislation that did not come from committee, jumping over what we currently have in place for that type of legislation. So, but again, the 30 days doesn't allow us to pass it any more quickly. It just would go into effect more quickly when it is passed, if it's got emergency language. Any other questions, thoughts? Okay, we'll be on the agenda again for another reading next Tuesday. Thank you. That's all I have.
Streets and highways?
I think Mr. Lewis, thank you.
All right, finance. The first piece we have here is streets and legislation authorizing the mayor to submit the following applications for funding to OPWC, also as the Ohio Public Works Commission for funding of the 2023 year, and execute all necessary documents. These projects would be Tremont Avenue Southwest repaving or resurfacing and Lincoln Way Phase 3. Who do we have in attendance to address? The mayor, Kathy. There is emergency language request.
Good evening, Mr. Lewis, members of the council. So this is the Ohio Public Works Commission funds, and there are certain things that you can apply for, and a lot of it is paving. So Tremont Avenue Southwest would be from 5th Street up to Main, and that's just to the point of Main. So that is one that they would like to apply for, and the other one is Lincoln Phase 3 project.
What is Lincoln Phase 3, please?
Well, there's still a piece on First Street that we'd like to finish, where Cosmos meets Lincoln Way. The restaurant is on that street. That all needs done yet, which is several mast arms, underground utilities, new sidewalk. So that's part of Phase 3. And then it'll go up to whatever amount that we can take it to, which we're hoping to take it at least to 2nd Street. And again, just so everybody understands, this is not putting bricks in the middle of the road. This is just for underground utilities and sidewalk and the curb.
Anyone else have any questions? Mr. Gray?
Did you mention it'd also be light posts?
Correct.
And to match what's already in the main
It'll be
part?
the same all the way as far as we can go, which I'm going to guess this funding will go to 2nd Street. Because they share it with the county, so you're not likely to get, millions of dollars. These are smaller amounts.
All right, I'll sign it for the agenda on Tuesday.
Thank you.
The next piece we have is please carry ordinance to appropriate from the unappropriated balance of the general fund, $25,000 to servicing contract. This is to release the funds for expenses related to hiring, physicals, and examinations. Do we have someone to give up a speak to this? Coming from civil service. We have the wonderful Lori Cosby before. Look, it took me a year to learn to say your name. I'm going to say it right now.
Good evening, Council. Yes, this is for the civil services. You're all well aware of, we've had quite a few hirings in the past, probably 4 to 6 months in civil service, a lot of openings. So when it includes things as the police department, there's a lot more involved in that. There are the exams, there are assessments, there are psychological, physical tests that take place. In the future, here soon, we also have some openings in wastewater as well as in the fire department. So to make sure and ensure that we can pay all those bills and do all those things that are required, we need to transfer some money into the services and contracts.
Any additional questions? Thank you. Please prepare an ordinance to appropriate and appropriate balance of the general fund $50,000 for income tax refunds.
And this is just so that we can pay out the refunds that are coming in. And income tax, we do have a 90-day caveat from the day that they are processed to go out. Though we are running less in refunds than we did last year, as we're all aware of, they did approve the work from home this year, which has caused us some additional funds. We still are not, like I said, where we were last year, but these additional funds have added to the increase in the refunds that are needed. And I'll be forthcoming as well as I may be back in a couple months, because October is also when extensions are due and many businesses file their tax refunds. So how that goes, I may have to come back again and ask as well. That's not something we can read, but especially on the businesses, those tend to fluctuate. So this, I would hope, would get us through at least until October, and then you may see the same request in October.
All right, do we have any questions? All right, instead of requesting you to come back up, you did pass this out, so I'll let us go ahead and do this quickly. What we have here is the memo from Ms. Caviedes discussing our current position on receipts from tax. Do you want to highlight anything in particular?
Sure. I'll highlight through this, and then I'll tell you a little bit. I just pulled the report, and we're not quite at the end of August yet, but we are trending well in August as well. So we are ahead of the game year to date, about 8%. Last month was, though it does show the 6,673, when we do it on our report with MITS and VIP, it comes out as 0. So we are ahead at the plus 8%. Our withholdings, and that is when we, if you work for a business in Massillon, we withhold the city taxes. So that's tracking about 68% of our total collection, which is about on track. It's usually about 68, 70, 72%. 12% comes from the payments from individuals, and the net profit tax is 20%. So I had a great question from one of your peers about the net profit tax. So I'm just going to tell a little bit of what that is. The net profit tax is the income tax is put on the business of the profits from the business. So it's the 2% on what the profits of the business is, and there's some calculations that go into it, but that also goes into the overall income tax collection. So I just wanted to make everybody aware of that. We do show also that we are averaging about 2.157 million each month, which is surpasses the last couple of years. We're ahead of the collection goal in all of our categories for income tax. We should be about 58.33%. And we range anywhere from 60.34 to 68.64% for all of our different income tax categories that the income tax goes into. And then, like I said, we are tracking a little bit better than we were last year with refunds, even considering that we had a few of the work from home. The work from home, just FYI, that was for 2 years ago, the year of COVID. It still is out there, so they haven't decided what the work from home for 2020 is. That's in the court system, so we have to address that in the upcoming year or two. I can say that $89,000 to $100,000 may seem like a steep amount, but compared to some other cities, that was a minimal amount from the work at home taxes. So just through today, we are tracking about 7% year-to-date over, or about 2% up from the month of August from last year. Don't write this in blood or anything, but I'm going to predict about 3.5% over what we collected last year. I was kind of calculating today and went from 3 to 4%, so I'll say about 3.5%. Income tax collections have been strong or steady so far for the first 8 months. Usually pretty good through October, and then the end of the year, just like a lot of other things, they do decrease a little bit. But so far, we've had great success in our collections. Any questions?
Mr. Gray.
Thank you, Mr. Lewis. Could you explain a little bit more about the work from home issue?
Okay, it started in 2020 and in 2021. So if you worked in a business in a municipality, they always took out municipality tax. So through the COVID system, or the years for COVID, there was a lot of work at home. In 2020, they still said you're going to take them out from the municipality where you work, and that's how it's going to go going forward. That's been challenged, and that's in the court system. In 2021, our legislators in the state of Ohio came through and said, if you work from home, that is your principal place of work for 2021. So say, I could use myself actually. I just live up the street, but I'm in Perry Township. I pay Massillon municipal tax because I work here and I use all the facilities here, which is, the reason we pay the tax. If I had worked from home for the last year, I would have gotten a rebate on those taxes. So it became, in 2021, what you're considered your principal place of employment. Now in 2022, it's back, unless somebody challenges it again. So I'm hoping for, a little bit better collection here coming forward, but that's what happened in 2021.
So is this for employees of Massillon businesses that were working in their business but then were moved to home? So
Yeah.
not for people working for outside companies that now work from home?
That's correct.
That live in Massillon?
No, yeah. If you lived outside of the city but you worked in Massillon, that's where they withheld your taxes. Yes, exactly. Mm-hmm.
Right, thank you.
Any other questions?
All right, thank you. The next piece of legislation asks the police prepare an ordinance to appropriate from the unappropriated balance of the summer concert fund, $2,080. Again, we are passing through these funds so that they can pay for the students. Next, we have a few transfers. Looks like gas and oil went up, guys, so if you didn't know that already. Stop me if you have a question. Fire department wants to move $10,000 out of the building and place it in gas and oil, and this is to align the budget. Holler out if you got a question. Street department moving $2,000 out of service and contract to put it in the gas and oil. Street department moving $1,000 out of supplies and materials, placing it in the gas and oil. Street department moving $20,000 out of supplies and materials and post-it, placing it in gas and oil. Legends, moving $6,500 out of capital improvements, placing it into bank charges as to realign the budget, pay bank fees through the end of the year. I don't see more parts and rec here, but Lori, would you say this is most likely due to the credit card fees whenever someone's losing a car or things of that nature?
Sorry. I can't really speak to it as I just saw these two myself, but yes, bank fees went up all the way around as did credit card fees, so I would say I would imagine that, but that is not, I don't have the definite answer for that.
And then the second one is capital improvements by 4, putting it down to pro shop supplies for this way. I will say, I'll sign both of these, but just to clarify, Legends, a lot of what Legends does, it operates like a business on the point of sale side, but they can't just, if they make a lot of sales and need to restock something, they can't just go and restock it. If they need more stock than what was budgeted, they got to come to us and ask for money. So that's what some of the business doing. Normal business is like, okay, well, I sold it, on the shelves, I'm just going to go buy some wool. Well, they don't budget $50,000 and they need $55,000, you got to come to us and ask for that $5,000. So that's kind of a little bit of what we're seeing here. And that is all I have for finance. I do want to remind the council and everyone in attendance that we do not have a meeting on Monday. It will be on Tuesday because of the holiday. Thank you and good night.